From weaponry and aeronautics to bicycles and automobiles, a single conglomerate, Matra, produced them all. While they were able to manufacture air-to-air missiles, they also produced a Formula 1 car that won the World Championship. Matra even developed their own engine, which is considered by many to be one of the best-sounding V12s ever made, glorified for its incredibly high-pitched wail. The background story revolves around a couple of men, but most notably Giorgio Martin, born on March 14, 1930. His studies of mechanics and electronics at the Special School of Public Works led him to Simca, where he designed a famous Poise engine, which was truly advanced when introduced in 1961 and continued its lifespan in Simca, Peugeot, Citroën, Talbot and even Matra up to 1991. Philippe Guédot, his colleague at Simca, brought him to Matra without even knowing what was expected of him. I had not been hired with a specific program, and especially not with F1 as my immediate objective. It was with surprise that I heard Jean-Luc Lagardère tell me that an F1 V12 had to be built, as I did not see anyone in France prepared to design an engine developing 150 horsepower per liter. I rolled up my sleeves to constitute, at the beginning of the 1967, the team capable of carrying out this task. Prior to entering the racing world, Matra was an aerospace and arms manufacturer for the French government. Its name is an acronym of Mécanique, Aviation and Traction, and interestingly is also the name of a Hungarian mountain. It was founded by Marcel Chazagny. In 1964, out of nowhere, he stated that they were going to win the Formula 1 and Le Mans championships, which was followed by the creation of an automotive division, Matra Sports. The appointed CEO, Jean-Luc Lagardère, put Giorgio Martin in charge of developing a 150 horsepower per liter engine for what is considered the highest class of international racing with open wheelers. They could have obtained Cosworth DFE engine, which was a ready-to-go, reliable and powerful engine, but the proud French government decided to finance the French Formula 1 engine program. Matra's racing division was founded in 1965. Martin joined the team in late 1966, and yet in 1969, the engine debuted in Formula 1. Matra recognized the challenges in developing a V12 engine and worked hard to create a design that could compete with the Cosworth DFV. Despite the challenges of the V12 layout, Matra's CEO Jean-Luc Lagardère believed in its nobility and instructed Giorgio Martin to develop a 150 horsepower per liter engine. The engine underwent several revisions over time, but the basic design remained the same. The engine featured an all-aluminum exterior with various magnesium covers and a 3-liter block cast into a 60-degree bang angle, housing a forged steel crankshaft on 7 3-metal main bearings by Vandervelde. The engine also had pressed-in forged steel wet liners, clamped down by heads and titanium conrods. The forged aluminum pistons were required to have a significant dome for a compression ratio of 11:1 due to the head design. The initial version of the engine, the MS9, had a wide valve angle of 56 degrees with a deep combustion chambers and was easily recognizable by its straight intake trumpets installed onto the cam covers. However, the MS9 engine did not perform well in the 1969 Formula 1 Championship due to its high fuel consumption, insufficient power and reliability issues. Matra was fortunate that Jackie Stewart requested to use the Cosworth DFE engine in his car. Jackie's success with the DFE engine led him to win the championship in 1969, earning Matra their first constructor title. The engine was allegedly the most oversquared V12 on the grid and was able to deliver 390 horsepower at 10,500 rpm. Not great, not terrible. Matra was aware that this was not an ideal setup and right away began working on an updated design. While the MS9 was being produced, he worked on a single-cylinder prototype with a narrower valve angle and flatter pistons. Frankly, the team had been studying Cosworth design and took inspiration for improvements. The MS12 carried over most of the design features such as the bottom end, bore-to-stroke ratio, and the crazy expensive crankshaft, but there were notable head modifications presented in the new revision. The valve angle was dramatically reduced from 56 to 33.5 degrees, with intakes inclined 16 and exhaust valves 17.5 degrees. The valve diameter was also changed from 31 intake and 27 exhaust to 33 and 27.2 mm respectively. Dual coil valve springs were individually checked before assembly by cycling them at a speed equivalent to 14,000 rpm for 6 hours. The steel camshafts were held by 7 bearings and driven via spur gears in the front of the engine. There was an ignition distributor and Lucas fuel injection pump driven off the rear of the intake camshafts. They even decided to mount the engine as a chassis stress member. In the late 1969, the engine was dyno tested and the results were promising. The power levels appeared to equal out with Cosworth at 10,000 rpm and it could potentially rev even higher. It delivered 450 horsepower at 11,000 rpm, a healthy 60 horsepower increase. The torque peaked at 8,000 rpm with a figure of 343 Nm. Matra attempted to race this new engine in Formula 1, placing it in the last Formula 1 chassis of their own, the MS-120. This car was driven by notable drivers, such as Jean-Pierre Beltoise, Uri Pescarolo, and Chris Amon, but achieved mediocre results, gaining 5 podiums and 3 fastest laps out of 35 races together between 1970 and 1972. More notable results were accomplished in endurance racing. The team appeared at Le Mans with the MS630 for the first time, and then in the following years again with the MS640 and MS650. The results were again mediocre, but then it began. In 1972, they entered the 24 Hours of Le Mans with 4 cars, and Matra managed to win with Graham Hill and Uri Pescarolo in the MS670 chassis. It was powered by an updated engine called the MS73, capable of 480 horsepower. The 700 kg car had a top speed of 320 km per hour down the Mulsanne rate. The following 2 seasons, the French manufacturer attempted to participate in the whole championship and again managed to gain a victory in the Le Mans as well as the championship as a whole, earning 2 drivers and 2 constructors titles in 1973 and 1974. That concludes Matra's racing career, which saw an impressive period of dominance in the early 1970s. The V12 engine was later used by the Shadow Racing team in 1975 and the Ligier team in Formula 1 for the 1981 and 1982 seasons. The engine's output increased from 390 horsepower to around 530 horsepower. Matra also developed an interesting flat-valve MS71 engine in 1971, which remained in the development stage and is now on display in a museum. The final iteration of the V12 was a modified Simca Poise engine, which used the F1-derived Matra head and made 180 horsepower from a 1.3 liter. However, this engine never made it into a real car, and the V12 F1 program ended with a couple of victories and podiums in 1982 by Ligier drivers. Matra's last attempt in Formula 1 was the MS82, a 1.5-liter turbo project capable of 700 to 800 horsepower, but it was cancelled due to financial reasons.